The main cause of most men's problems, whether they relate to women or life in general, is frequently an overstimulated, hypersexualized mind that has gotten so preoccupied with the physical that it becomes an obstacle to greatness. Even more concerning is the fact that many people don't see this as a problem. Instead, they accept it as their fate and live their lives unaware of it, thinking that they are merely puppets to their biology with no control over their actions. However, let's be clear that we don't buy into the victim mentality or settle for mediocrity. Instead, we take control of our minds and reject the idea that our actions are dictated by transient desires. Let's examine why detoxing your brain from excessive sualization is not only essential, but transformative, with life-altering benefits. To fully appreciate the advantages of desualizing your brain, we must comprehend a key idea. Whether they realize it or not, women who play the leverage game have perfected a tactic that centers on leveraging your sexual desire as their power. Take a look at the low-cut tops, bras with push-ups, tight skirts, implants that filter elevated heels. It all comes down to enhancing their beauty in order to captivate you and take charge of the story. Let's do one thing now. Crystal, it's obvious that a woman has no power if she can't use your libido against you. Once that leverage is eliminated, you are essentially unstoppable. Ever hear the term thirsty? That's exactly what we're talking about. Aren't the males bombarding her Instagram comments with hearty emojis? Women know this immediately, which is why they don't appreciate men who are easily deceived by superficial attraction. They are only background noise and are not even on her radar. The truth is that men who sacrifice their dignity for attention are repulsive to women. These men have lost control due to an overly sexualized mind that makes them blind to their own value. And worse, they are doing it for someone they don't even know. The image on the screen is just a carefully curated pixel and angles with makeup, lighting, and filters. But men are willing to sacrifice their masculinity for a fantasy. This is where it gets deeper. Businesses and society at large have realized this. To make this point clear, let's imagine a world in which men had no sex drive. Picture this. At a UFC event, the ring girl struts around the octagon and blows a kiss to the camera, and the crowd of men is silent. No whistles, no shouts, just silence. The world around you is set up to take advantage of your sexual impulses, to keep you chasing, distracted, and ultimately under control. When you desexualize your mind, you break free from that grip, regaining your focus, your self-respect, and your ability to dominate in every aspect of life. It's no coincidence that every UFC match guarantees you'll catch a glimpse of women barely dressed walking around the cage. But what if men didn't care? What if there was no sexual desire to leverage? I've been to live events, and every time the ring girls appear, it's like someone flips a switch and the guys lose their composure, whistling and cheering like they've seen a rare spectacle. Now consider why the ring girls are even there. Their entire purpose is to add that extra layer of sexual appeal to the event. Gone, just the fans' question mark remains. Most likely, empty nightclubs on Instagram are a barren wasteland. Numerous industries prosper as a result of their ability to capitalize on men's sexual urges. Guys pay ridiculous amounts of money just to sit and watch women they'll never even meet, some even pay just to be in the same room as women they find attractive. If you step back and think about it, it's wild, but that's how powerful a man's C-drive is. And that's exactly why women in businesses know how to profit from it. Imagine how much more control you'd have over your life if none of this had any hold on you. That's the real power of desexualizing your brain. You stop being a puppet in someone else's game. Yes, we are humans. We can't completely override our biology. If a UFC ring girl walked into the room right now, every single one of us would notice her body. That's just part of being human. But the real power comes in developing awareness of those biological reactions, capturing your thoughts and mastering how you respond. This is where most guys mess up. Why? Because they've conditioned their minds to sexualize and pedestal women every single day. If you scroll through your Instagram feed and your Explore page is packed with half-naked women, you've already trained your brain to react. You're the exact person I'm talking to right now. This constant exposure is programming your mind to be distracted, obsessed, and ultimately controlled. It's no different from when I was deep into bodybuilding. Watching pros online every day. Sure, it pushed me to train harder, but it also wrecked my perception of reality. Suddenly, nothing seemed good enough unless I had a shredded 220-pound physique or was lifting ridiculous numbers. It created an unrealistic standard that distorted my view of what strong or fit looked like. The same thing happens when you spend your days staring at pictures of women sharing them with friends saying, "Look at this 10 out of 10. It warps your expectations. You start pedestalize women to such a degree that you won't even look twice unless they meet that impossible standard of beauty. Real women, they don't even register anymore unless they fit that perfect mold by flooding your brain with this content. You're not just losing touch with reality, you're giving up your control. But once you break free from that, when you stop feeding your brain with hypersexualized content, you regain your power. You start seeing women and yourself for what they are. And that's when you stop being a slave to your biology and take back control of your life. Our biology indeed plays a role in how we respond to visual stimuli. But here's the thing, so much of what we perceive is just an illusion, especially in today's hyper-curated world. I've seen this firsthand through working closely with influencers and witnessing the reality behind the scenes. A while back, I was involved in a media project with several high-profile influencers. These women had massive followings, some boasting millions of fans online with guys constantly flooding their comments, praising every post. But the reality when they first arrived before all the makeup and professional styling, they looked completely ordinary. So ordinary that I didn't even recognize them as the models we were scheduled to work with. One of my colleagues glanced over, confused, and asked, "These are the ones?" I could only nod, just as baffled a couple of hours later, after hair, makeup, and lighting worked their magic. They emerged looking like completely different people. They had transformed from regular women into the flawless, unattainable goddesses everyone fawns over online. I recall standing there and comparing a heavily filtered selfie that one of them had taken to her feed with the one she had just uploaded, and I felt as though I was looking at two completely different people. I'm not here to criticize the use of makeup filters or photo editing. I know why it's done because it works. But as men, we must realize that this whole thing is a mirage. We are constantly exposed to carefully constructed images that distort our understanding of reality. Although we have no control over how women present themselves, we do have control over how we respond. We can decide to stop falling for the illusion and reclaim our power from these irrational expectations that are wholly unrelated to reality. Once you see through the facade, you will cease to idolize these distorted images, and you will discover that your sense of masculinity and self-worth begins to come from something genuine and solid, rather than from chasing fantasies. The women you may be putting on a pedestal are ultimately just people, and time will eventually wear them down, and their physical appearance will deteriorate like everyone else's. Even now, the perfection you see is largely an illusion. You're fixated on certain features that arouse your desires, but this obsession only impairs your judgment. This is how you regain control of your life. Most men only become aware of their lack of confidence when they engage with a woman they find incredibly attractive. Not necessarily a woman who is universally regarded as beautiful, but one who fits their ideal. And all of a sudden, instead of acting naturally, they start doing all kinds of unnecessary things to impress her. This is because they've become so focused on her appearance that they lose sight of everything else. But the moment you train yourself to stop viewing women only through the prism of physical attraction, everything changes. You'll find that you carry yourself differently, becoming more composed, more self-assured, and less reactive. This approach not only improves your interactions, but also eliminates women who don't live up to your standards. The trap that most men fall into is being so preoccupied with acquiring the female for SE or as a trophy to flaunt that they start lowering their standards and making choices that are inconsistent with who they are in an attempt to win this woman over. Ironically, this strategy rarely works. Women are repulsed by desperation because they can sense it from a great distance. The secret is that the moment you stop being enthralled by a woman's appearance and instead judge her by her character, you regain control. She no longer has the same power over you, and the shift in dynamic can be shocking for some women because they're so used to getting what they want with little effort. I've worked with guys who exuded such an aura of neediness around women that it was almost embarrassing for them, but everyone else could see it. A look, a grin, a flash of skin that makes them unsure of what to do when they meet a man who isn't influenced by such things. The whole dynamic shifts when you put substance above appearances. You're in charge, and women take notice of this sudden, making better selections is possible when you have clarity and recognize individuals for who they truly are. There is a deep truth to the jokes about post-nut clarity that you frequently see online. You get a unique look at a world where sexual urges are temporarily absent during post-nut clarity. It's a brief period of time when desire doesn't influence your judgment, enabling you to see things more clearly. When you're in that state, you realize how much less impressed you are by overt sexual attempts. The urge to seek out instant satisfaction fades, and you become less likely to scroll through never-ending streams of offensive material. This brief clarity emphasizes how crucial it is to keep this viewpoint as a regular habit. To continuously reach this level of awareness, you must actively manage your surroundings, beginning with clearing out your social media feeds. Remove accounts that constantly show you sexualized images. Utilize tools such as "Don't show me this content" to eliminate distractions. Making a feed that doesn't constantly promote sexual desire is the aim. Steer clear of excessively sexualized and explicit media. Eliminating these distractions won't make you less interested in interacting with women in real life. It will probably increase your desire to interact with actual people. You'll be more likely to look for real connections and less likely to use screens to satisfy your cravings. I once talked about how consuming too much explicit material might distort how people see interactions in the actual world. I knew someone who, in spite of going to strip clubs and watching explicit media, couldn't appreciate women in real life because his standards were so skewed that everyday interactions felt inadequate. He became obsessed with an unrealistic ideal, which caused him to become dissatisfied and disconnected from reality. It's important to remember that standards are important, but it's also critical to acknowledge that many of the images we are constantly exposed to are carefully chosen. Illusions. The continual barrage of sexualized imagery only serves to steer you in a direction where real-life experiences may seem less satisfying. By focusing on authentic, real-life connections rather than skewed online representations, you maintain your capacity to appreciate and interact with the world authentically. In many areas of life, including dating, when you lack something, it becomes your main focus. This is particularly true with dating and SC, where the desperation and effort to obtain these can overshadow the reality of what you gain from them. There is a quote that is frequently attributed to Kanye West, but to be honest, the internet tends to misattribute quotes to everyone from Abraham Lincoln to Aristotle. It's similar to investing $30,000 to make $500 in profit. On the surface, this is a profit, but the effort is far more than the return. In a similar vein, placing a high value on SE frequently results in a distorted viewpoint. You may sacrifice time, money, or even your dignity in the pursuit of C only to discover that the return on that investment falls short of expectations. This is not to argue that relationships and dating aren't important. In fact, they are, and the current atmosphere frequently discourages sincere connections. The important thing is to maintain perspective, resist the urge to make to the ultimate goal that you will stop at nothing to obtain, and resist the urge to let sexual cravings rule your thoughts and behavior. The same idea holds true for controlling your exposure to sexual content. Cutting back on your intake of offensive media can assist you in refocusing your attention on meaningful relationships. Recall that a man who masters his sexual urges is genuinely strong and unchangeable. Many people are ruled by their cravings, but by taking back control, you preserve your strength and moral character. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you at the next one. Please share your thoughts on this in the comment box below, and I'll make sure to provide tailored responses.